G'day guys, welcome to this week's Life on the Hulls, and very sad day today. We got rid of Ellen and Zach yesterday, went to New Zealand to live, and they flew out yesterday morning from Sydney Airport. So Janet hasn't shown up for work for a couple of months, so she's back on the tools today, and she's down here laminating the floor and the module together, getting all of this tidied up. And we are very, very happy to announce that we got our electric system up and live, and we are so happy. Everything's working perfectly. So happy. Got the regulators for the alternators and everything going. So that's where we're at the moment. But we're going to go right back to October when Zach and I were into around day 4 and day 5 of that electrical install. It was very, very challenging work, pulling wires, laying conduits, trying to think way ahead. And now that I'm at this stage, I'm really glad I thought ahead. So there's plenty coming up. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you see Zach and Ellen driving around in a blue and white Mazda Parkway bus in New Zealand, give them a yell, say g'day, and say g'day to them for us. Thanks guys, we'll see you soon. One thing we've learnt with the conduits is to have intermittent breaks, so that if you get a hang up, you can actually pull it through. So we're leaving about 20 centimeters in between some of these junctions, just so that we can actually do a wire pull through. And then we thought we could use some split loom conduit or something to cover the wires as they go in between. But what I've done here, got these 2 outlets coming from under the Dynet module, under the nav station, into a hole in the shelf, and then into another one. I glued these in last night and just suspended them, and then they'll go down into these bottom conduits here. Keeping our wire routes to the shortest possible length, our windlass wire routing has been the easiest of all, as it accesses from the port side through the forward cabin robe and across the forward bulkhead and into our main suite. The day before I joined the hull on the deck, I passed an additional conduit into the anchor locker to enable this. And I'm just going to take you back to that day and just show you how far I've actually come since that day and what was required to get this conduit in. It dawned on me, and I've been thinking about this for some time, that I hadn't put a conduit in to get wires across on the forward face of this bulkhead to the windlass. Now I can secrete them along the top of this bulkhead on the inside in the cabin, which would be sort of makes sense because I can actually get to it easily by removing some lining off the walls. The only issue with that is that I don't want to be pulling apart a bedroom to get to wiring should I ever need to replace it. So I do have this wardrobe here, and this robe has a conduit already positioned here that's coming through the bulkhead and into this robe here, which is always nice to be able to work in a robe rather than have to tear a bedroom apart. And what I'm anticipating is putting a conduit through here, and that can be linked up with the one below. It's all the way through there, across through the bulkheads and to the windlass shelf. Now that deals with this wiring in a conduit or in a protected environment, even though the front hatches technically could get wet. The other problem I have is that to get a length this long all the way through to the windlass, which is right over there, it's just penetrating the windlass or the chain locker there. I simply can't get it in because I've got all boxed in sections. So today is the day I can do it because I've still got the deck lifted. I don't have to try to feed it in afterwards or put in sections and join them, and I'd rather have one continuous length. Now, very importantly, I'm going to be drilling holes in the bottom of this to allow for any condensation to drip into the hatch and obviously out to sea. But what I can do here is I can actually mount, intending to put it around about here. I've worked out at 170 millimeters down from the top. It will get it just underneath my anchor locker windlass shelf, and then it'll be available for, obviously, for wiring of the windlass. It's a 50 millimeter PVC tube that will carry probably only those 2 wires, which means, and any relays that need to go in there. Anything else will have to be external to that, which is probably like deck wash and everything else. I'm going to have to work out how I'm going to do that, but it's not as critical as this one. I'll possibly put a deck wash somewhere in here so that I can reach in the hatch, plug it in, and obviously hose off the boat. But you know, for now at least I've got access in through the side. I can feed this through while I've got renovated access. Well, we're going to zoom down into the forward cabin. Zach's in there wiring up the windlass with 2 AUG wire, 36mm square wire. We've got some pretty big wires down to the windlass here.
We do.
Alright, and yeah, that's looking pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Look at that. So our solenoid and everything's going to sit in there. And the only thing we haven't done is got our searchlight back, but I reckon we can just drill it through a hole and take it back up to the front.
Yep. We can even pull it back through this tube and make it come back out into one of the front lockers if we wanted.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, cool. We've just made another wire order, and it's huge. Like, we're talking 100 square millimeter cables. That these guys are just ridiculously priced. I mean, ridiculously priced. Yeah, I cannot believe the price of it. But you know, I've already spent probably $3,000 on wires, and I think I'm about to spend another 3 just on the wiring for the boat. That's not accessories, so yeah, don't make any jokes about it. It's expensive building a boat.
Yep.
After some considerable debate, Zach and I decided we needed a further conduit route to the foredeck to facilitate a searchlight power wire, a windlass foot switch wire, and also a additional corded fob remote that will allow us to reach to the very bow, which will then raise and lower the anchor. So there's a lot of wiring going up into the front of the boat here. So we're on day 4 of this wiring fiasco, and Zach left about lunchtime. It's about 6 o'clock now, to head in to help his dad put an engine in a boat and do a couple other things as well with his dad's business. But we're down here in the starboard engine room, and as you can see, all the conduits that I put in last week are really going to work well as they're working well on the other side, but we've got no way of breaching the engine room, so I'm going to put conduits in here now so that tomorrow when we're running the lights, anything that goes into the back of the boat, like the underwater lights and certainly some electrics for the engine, also run through these conduits here. So I'm going to whack a couple through the engine bulkhead here. Now I do have to work on a sealing system on the other side at some point, but I'm not that worried about it now. I just want to get the hole cut now, get that hole cut, and then get it epoxied in before I go home. Gluing all of these conduits in the day before we're actually wiring is always better than trying to glue and epoxying around wiring, so I always try to get it done first. And I'm very fortunate in the respect that I've got pretty much all open. I haven't closed anything in, so that I knew this was coming, and this is going to be, without a doubt, one of the benefits that I have really set myself up for here. I've got access to pretty much everything exception of 2 outlets in the forward bed cabin modules. They are, I don't want to be burrowing into them. I've only left those little holes just so I can put some LED lights and things in, but essentially I've got the advantage of being able to access absolutely everything. Unlike anyone that has a boat that's already built or restoring one, you've got to work with what they got. I haven't got any cupboard faces on here or robe faces here yet. As you can see, all the lines are marked. I've got all the panels cut. I just haven't had them fitted yet, and that's paying off dividends right now. We're getting deliveries every few hours here at the moment. Zach and I have been spending money, Zach's been spending it, I've been paying for it. And yeah, well, there's a good reason for it. But what we've got here is our blue seeds fuse blocks, and Zach's spacing it out perfectly so that it's going to all look nice and neat in our electrical compartment here. It's okay having the devices, but can he wire it neatly? That's the challenge. I reckon he can. Alright, it's okay to mount the fuse block, but can you wire it properly?
We can wire it.
I'll just show you a picture of what this has to look like.
Yep.
And I'll put that up first, and then we'll go and have a look at what I've set the mission for Zach. Right, here we have, where's our negative bus?
Negatives up here.
Negative bus, positive bus. And then we've got 3 12 blue seeds blade fuse blocks. And our DC panel is going to be in this door here. And our AC panel is going to be tucked away up in there with plenty of room. Yep. And then our battery protect over here. And what have we got there? Switches, have we?
Yeah, so we've got main switch for the inverter, which is a dual circuit, dual output. And then we've got a big switch here for our DC loads as well.
Cool. Righto. It's happening.
It's really happening now, isn't it?
Yeah, look at that.
We got wires, we've got our fuse blocks. We're starting to neaten all this up so we can actually see what's going on.
So each bundle is a room, is it?
Essentially, yeah, a room or a section.
Yeah.
So, you know, port,
region.
Region.
So we've got stainless steel P-clips. We're going to P-clip everything nice and neat, and we're trying to be careful where we drill. We don't want to do through the hole.
Yes.
We've got a good foam panel down there, which is all solid glass. So, yeah, I reckon once we get that all neat, we'll be able to start on the other side.
For sure.
Oh, nice crimps, mate.
And now
beautiful.
that, I'll trust my life on that.
That's amazing. Yeah, we had a couple where they came off, but we've just got these new terminals. Check out these guys. They are beefy. I reckon they're twice as thick.
Yep.
As the last lot. At least twice as thick, and they're tin copper, so they're just superb. Cool.
Cheers.
So what I got going down in here, this is the helm conduiting. So stern cabin here, I've got, trying to keep as neat as Zach, I've got 200 by 50 conduits, effectively 4x2s coming down and angling down the chamfer panel into this. Now this is going to be a dedicated junction box section here for the engine room, the rear cabin and the helm. There's a lot going on in this this little spot here. So this spot here, from across here, there'll be a shelf. Every piece of wiring that's going to feed the stern section of the port, including the helm, is going to come into here. And similarly, I have another. Oh, that was my head. Oh. Ouch. And similarly, I've got another conduit here running straight down for my hydraulics out of my helm pump all the way down into this compartment here, and the helm hydraulics will then go through the engine room, out through the crash bulkhead, and that'll have to be sealed, and onto my rudder pistons, my hydraulic pistons. It'll be over the other side of that. So yeah, there's a lot going on. We thought we had a lot going on yesterday, but I think it's actually worse today. Cool. I just came in a minute ago and I said to Zach, every Phillips head screw has to have either an X or a T orientation in this boat. And he said, are you ever going to get the boat on the water? I said, not until that's done. So he's now sorting out that problem, because I've a bit of an O.C.D. about Phillips head screws. If they're actually in an X fashion and the next one's a plus, then that's not good enough. So I've just added another week's work to his electrical install, but he'll be right, won't you, mate?
I'll get it done.
Good lad. All right, under the helm, I've got these two beautiful conduits going straight through into the back compartment. It's all been planned. I'm not arsing this, am I, Zach? No. It's all sort of been planned, even though you wouldn't believe it. Some of it. No, you'd believe it. This week actually turned into a game of catch-up as I attempted to get at least a day ahead of Zach's electrical wire install, as the conduits had to be installed, glued, and often the case flow coated out before any wires could be pulled. Righto, they're in and locked and loaded, and I've got plenty of room there to pass pretty much everything, I hope, that needs to go up to the helm. And similarly here, the conduit for the hydraulic steering, and it was the compass for the autopilot. We're potentially going to put here just off to the side. Ideally you want it in the middle, but you want it away from any electric motors. And yeah, still got Zach, he's on about hour 5. We are seriously starting to see why marine electricians get paid what they do, because we have been here for literally hours. Yeah. And what we're trying to do is get, this is the port side, all the bundles coming up. We want them to look super neat as they come around there, and we're using these P-clips to route our cables and get them all to line up with the fuse blocks, which is turning out to be not so easy, isn't it? No, it's not easy. But it's going to look, if we blue tack these P-clips on, we can sort of see our routes. Yep. That's looking pretty good. This has been a mind bend, but what we're trying to do, we're bringing these up, and they can't all confluence at the same place. They have to be spread. And at the same time, we've got the live wire to go somewhere as well, which is actually going to go to the switch panel. So I've left Zach in his hole to measure, cut, strip and crimp some of our first few wires to our fuse blocks. What I did is I went up into the factory and started to fashion a temporary door which was going to hold our 28 slot BEP DC digital fuse panel. Now this actual panel will be mounted on a nice furniture grade door, but for now we just needed a way to be able to mount it so we could swing it in and out and begin the wiring process. We're going to do a dry fit of our DC switch panel. So we're going to just mount a wooden door on there, a rough door, just so we've got access. There's your panel. So this is a rough piece. It's marine ply. I could possibly use this later on, I'm not sure. But I've routed the inside of it, so it's got a nice soft edge so we don't get any crimping. Alright, so we've got a 28 position digital BEP switch panel. We're going to surface mount it for now. We might recess it in later on. I will recess it in later on, but this gets our wiring pretty much consolidated, and then Zach's going to be able to open this right out. Yeah, it'll be good enough. Perfect. We'll open all the way out.
Oh yeah, you don't want to put that panel back onto the, like you don't want to put it on that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Put a bit of foam there or something. What's that? Shows you a handful of wires, mate. What would that be?
That would be something, and something else.
Yep. So Zach and I had a 4-hour, 8 till midnight session last night after a 10-hour day. Mm-hmm. And what was the result? It was on the DC panel. So we've got these beautiful switches, and we have to work out what's switched and unswitched. And there's going to be a bit of modification to the bus bar on the BEP panel, and we can do that because, as you can see, it's actually got separate bus bars, and we can remove them and change them around as we need to. So the bottom 4 are likely to be
unswitched. Yeah.
And separate to the bus bar power bar. So they'll have their own power running to them.
Yep.
And that'll give us the opportunity to leave bilge pumps on, the fridge on, and the freezer on. They're the main important ones, because if we leave the boat for a week, we don't want to take all the fish that we've speared out of there.
Correct. And yeah, and practically when you're leaving the boat, you don't want to have to come here and make sure everything, single switch is off and every light switch is off. We're going to have the big switch in here. You'll turn one switch off, and it'll turn everything but the fridge, freezer, and bilge pumps off.
Yeah, exactly.
And stereo memory and those kind of things.
Yeah, exactly. Anything with a memory, like a VHF radio, is possibly going to have memory, and so as, well, AIS won't.
Yeah, but stereo and all that. But just the fridge and freezer will at least, they'll still be on a circuit breaker, so they'll still be fused if there is a short or something. So they'll still be fused, but you'll be able to turn everything else off. So there's no current draw except for your fridge freezer, so you don't have to defrost it every time.
And the other things on that DC panel are going to be things like anchor light, steaming light, nav lights. Yeah, we've got a list, and we've actually done a huge list here.
Where is it?
Oh, that'll do. So yeah, AIS, VHF, radar, USB outlets, things like that we can turn off so that we can see that on the switch panel. I don't have to run through the whole boat, turn everything off. But yeah, at least we got the panel up there. We can start to determine what needs to be switched and unswitched, and start to pull the wires appropriately. So we just spent 10 minutes trying to work out how to get the face off it, and you just crack it off with the screwdriver.
You just rip it off.
Yeah, rip it off.
All right, anchor light, nav light. We've got about 20 wires, 30 wires here already. That's not even half of it.
We don't know where they go.
We don't know where they go, so we're going to get ahead of that before we get up to 100 wires, and we're going to start tagging the other ends of the wires and putting a label on the fuse block like that, so we know what it is on this side, we know what it is on the other side. Before we go any further, once we get all these ones done, then we can worry about pulling wires from the other side.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. So I'm going to sit down here.
You're going to sit here.
I'm going to multimeter test them.
That's it.
Put a 12-volt battery there to the negative and positive bus bars, and we should be able to diagnose. Yep.
That's it.
All right, let's do it. All right, so
I'll see that one. The next one is forward port cabin DC.
Okay.
If you put that on there.
So we're putting our multimeter on our live. And then Zach's here with the wires from the forward cabin. And it's got to be one of these two.
Reckon first go? Oh,
yes.
Look at that. Alright.
And that is corresponding to
that's our power, so that's our DC
forward
outlet.
port cabin DC. And then we're just going to put a blue tag on it.
Yep.
That
cabin will be USB
and fans.
and fan.
Cool. Easy. Alright, that's good. Now we've got 1,000 more to do.
Process of elimination.
Alright. And that's going to be fused, isn't it? Yeah, not switched. Because it's got to come on with the engine.
Wait, well... No, if you want that to come on with the engine, you need to run off the house battery. Off the ignition circuit.
Yeah.
So you know, like when you turn your car to
So
ignition?
that's what I was thinking, yeah. Alright, well, what's the other formula you had in the engine room?
We can do... Oh no, we were going to do a separate one for engine lights and lazarette lights.
Yeah, right, okay. So, aft lights. Aft internal lights. Engine room light.
Just put engine room light, and then we know that we're going to connect the lazarette light to it.
And we're going to do a label for this. Is it going on here? Onto a fuse block?
Yeah.
So, alright, so it's going to be...
Dump the ones that I know down here.
Do you want to check it? Alright, end of day 5. It's actually the 6th day here, but really day 5 of the wiring, and Lexi's come up to inspect. What do you reckon? You gonna shake hands? Oh, come on, shake hands. Shake. Good girl. Hey, we'll check out what Zach's doing. Righto, mate. Give us a bit of a run through. Final run through. This is pretty exciting for us because we've really come to a system and a testing regime that we know what we're doing now.
Yep. So
Alright, let's go.
now we've actually got tags on every single one of the positives of what it is, and it's both tagged on this side and the other side. So now that they're tagged, I can start stripping them all back to these P clips here, which is where, as you can see, the negatives go to that side, and then all the positives are either going to go to the fuse block, or depending on what they are, like this one here, will go around to its corresponding switch.
Yeah, fantastic. Exactly. So, beautiful.
That's our system.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, hopefully.
And down there, it's still not looking any better.
No.
Where's your sheet, mate?
The sheet's out of there.
We put a sheet in there because there's the potential that there'll be a screw drop down in there and we'll never see that again, and that'll rattle around one night when we're in a bit of a seaway. It'll be like... Zach! Yeah, Zach. I'll kill him. Brilliant, mate. Absolutely beautiful. We're very proud of the whole effort. I'm going to leave this for a few days and do some more glassing because I've got some work to do. And we'll be back at it at some point.
I want this to fall apart.
No.
In the hole.
Yeah. We're about to drag that, which is the ones that we forgot yesterday, but we sort of didn't realise we need, down into there somewhere. Look at that. That's like a cesspool. That is just a brothel.
We're having fun.
Righto, I'm gonna
You're gonna pass me the camera.
I'll give you the camera.
Come on, I'm on 1% battery.
Oh, yes. No. Fill it quickly.
Yeah, we'll keep pulling.
Are you ready?
Yep, good going. Oh, slowly now. Slowly. Slowly. Alright, you're doing it. Oh, that is... Yeah, the 2 mil. That's it, you're there. Alright, let's figure out these pumps. So we've got...
4 pumps on each side.
One in the front, one under the shower, engine room and lazarette.
Yep.
We've got 2, do you want to do 2 float switches aside, plus the high water? Or do you want a separate float switch for the lazarette? Because it might get water over the back if you're in big seas or something like that.
Yeah.
And your engine room won't get wet.
I think we decided we're going to buy another 2 float switches.
So do we want float switch per pump?
Yeah, but the main central build is the important one, and the engine room. They're the two I want. Probably don't need one in the engine room because it's 3 feet under if it's got water in it.